Yeah, I like Final Fantasy 13. Alright, people are gonna kill me now. Now, Final Fantasy 13 was one of those games that it divided the Final Fantasy fans, you know. Um, Not many people play Final Fantasy 12, which I'll probably do another video on that. But Final Fantasy 13 was that game that everyone kind of like they skipped out on 12 or 11 and 12, and then they saw 13 because 13 really they were talking about 13 since like it was like 2005. I had seen 13 in a magazine or something, and I got really excited about it. And then you know what? I was. A lot of people were really excited about Final Fantasy 13. It was a new Final Fantasy game coming out on the newer consoles, and not only that, the game looks amazing. Like if you play Final Fantasy 13, no, not these two. If you play 13, it's one of those games. It holds up so well. You can definitely see the quality in this game. And fun fact, Final Fantasy 13, it came out on my birthday, so obviously I was like super excited to go to the store and buy it for that. And man, was I, I was, I enjoyed it. I did. I did not find it as I didn't find it that bad of a game. I know people, a lot of people played this game and they just tossed it aside and they kind of said, "Oh yeah, well the game's too linear, and I'm not going to touch it." You know, it's terrible. It's a terrible Final Fantasy game. And in that respect, I will tell you guys, as a Final Fantasy game, it's probably not the best one to jump into when you first start playing the series, or if you were looking for something more traditional, it is definitely not a traditional Final Fantasy game. Yeah, it's not a traditional Final Fantasy game. Eventually, the later ones, they kind of fixed problems, but they also brought their own problems into the series or the 13 trilogy. And as a trilogy, I don't think it's that bad, except for a specific ending that probably shouldn't have happened in one of them. I don't think that's a bad trilogy. But 13, I'm going to just talk about some of the things I really liked about 13 and why I think people need to give it a shot. And if you gave it a shot, I'm going to tell you guys why I think you should give it another shot, unless you've already done everything you can. Now, when I started playing this game, I was 6 hours in, and obviously there's still tutorials popping up. But that's one of the things I hated about 13, is it had so many tutorials, and in my mind, I didn't mind. Like, I was just like, okay, you know, tutorials, I can just skip them or whatever. But when I played 13, my thought was, what are people, newcomers, going to think about this Final Fantasy game? And sure enough, people bashed the game to death. Like, they beat the crap out of it. It was terrible. Not only that, I mean, like, there's a lot of things going on. The story, I think you had to play a little bit more and kind of dive deep into the lore book that they gave you inside the game. You know, like that catalog thing where you can read about the enemies and stuff. Because there's a lot of lore in Final Fantasy 13. Final Fantasy 13 was ultimately about these, let's see, or these kind of like godlike beings who basically humans needed them to survive. You had ones that kind of fed the humans, and it was almost like humans were like they needed each other a little bit, you know. But then there was also this there was a city that was right above, you know, Grand Pulse, and on this other planet, basically Cocoon was a city where people lived, and Grand Pulse is where kind of everyone looked at. Like if you went down there, you could potentially become a fal'Cie, or it's basically these people that are kind of cursed to turn into these monsters. And there's a lot of stuff that you can go into the lore and stuff. It's just a lot of crap that you have to read up on. I think you could probably make an entire series like just like Harry Potter films on Final Fantasy 13, because there's that much lore, like just thrown into it. If I say something wrong about the lore, I'm sorry. It's just that there's too much. But it's an interesting world. I think Final Fantasy 13, it did its job in like telling it, like kind of like capturing and saying like, hey, this world is awesome. And yeah, let me tell you, the 13 world it was amazing. I think it's probably one of the best Final Fantasy worlds out there. just executed very poorly. Now, after the tutorials kept popping up after 6 hours in the game, I kind of started playing it more. And I think around the 8 or 9 hour mark, I find the game finally opens up. It's finally an open world game to some extent. And my thought on this was like, well, maybe this game it felt a lot like Final Fantasy X, and I don't see why people they bash 13 so much. A lot of people just did not make it to the like 8 or 9 or 10 hour mark, whatever it was, to get to Grand Pulse, which is basically the world below, and that's where a lot of people they started telling me like, hey, this game sucks. It's too linear. You're just running down hallways and stuff, and I would tell them no, and they would look at me like, are you stupid? And I'm sorry, but I would have to tell them back like, hey, did you play? How far did you get into the game? A lot of people that I know, they played this game for like 3 hours max, and that was it. And I don't think a lot of people understood what a JRPG was and how it went. And granted, like I said, Final Fantasy 13 is probably not the best representation of a Final Fantasy game, but I do think that it is a legit game where like it's a really decent game. I don't think that it was a bad game at all. So since not a lot of people they stopped like at 3 hours, the people I met, there were some people that did push forward. And if you're one of those people that pushed forward, you got to Grand Pulse and you didn't see no point in doing anything, and you thought the game was terrible, then fine. I can't really tell you much, because most people that I've talked to and said that they hated Final Fantasy 13, I always tell them, look, go back, look at it from a different perspective, give the game another shot, because I think the game, it's not a bad game at all. Not to mention, I think the story is amazing. I do enjoy the story for 13. I enjoy the characters. I enjoy the music. The music is probably one of the best soundtracks that Square Enix has thrown out. If the game, to me, I think it reminded me a lot of Final Fantasy X, and the aspects is that like they used the piano, they had awesome characters, and the game, it was pretty linear. Linear. It's almost like Final Fantasy X linear, not to that extent. I mean, like Final Fantasy X did open up a little bit in some of its parts, but towards the end of the game, the world does open up. And in Final Fantasy 13, it does take a while for that world to kind of open up, and that sucks. It sucks that people just couldn't, explore the world of Grand Pulse, because Grand Pulse was an interesting world. No, I mean, I can go into I can go into more detail about Final Fantasy 13, but I'll leave it right there, because, in my opinion, I'm gonna just say it like right out. I think that the sequels, of anything, they built upon the game and they destroyed it at the same time. Uh, Final Fantasy 13, I thought, like I said, I thought it was a fantastic, game. I did enjoy it a lot. I did not hate the game, and it's definitely in my top 10 favorite Final Fantasy games, for sure. But I think when Final Fantasy 13 2 came out, my thoughts were that nobody asked for this. It's not something I wanted. But anyways, I bought the game, and eventually, I brought, it sat on my shelf. It sat on my shelf for a long time. Legit, it sat on my shelf until I heard about the release for Final Fantasy Lightning Returns. And I kind of looked at this game and I was just like, I can't play it. Like, I'm going to just leave it. When I heard Lightning Returns came out, I went and I binge played this. And let me tell you, this game, I do think I like this game. I like it a lot. I did like the combat system. They better refined it, I think. And the world, there's definitely a lot of more world exploring. There's definitely a lot more secrets. A lot of the stuff that a traditional Final Fantasy game, it should be a traditional Final Fantasy game. That's what it was. It was more traditional. There's time travel. There's some awesome bosses, secret areas, weapons and stuff. But my problem with this one was that it took a step back in the fact that there weren't a lot of characters. Not as much as Final Fantasy 13. And I mean, I guess that was my problem. You didn't have a party of characters. You just had Sarah and Noel time traveling, different places in time and all that. It just, to me, I thought it was, I didn't like that. But it did introduce a villain that I thought was severely underrated, and that was Caius, which I think they should have done a little bit more with him. And also, the problem I had with this one was that this one just kind of totally erases the events of Final Fantasy 13 at the end. And it's just like, 13, granted, it had its problems. I thought the ending and the storyline for 13 was flawless. I enjoyed it. The characters developed so well through the game, and I really enjoyed being a part of that, that character roster. It was so amazing. to see how far that they had come by the end of the game. And for this one to just totally just rip everything apart that happened at the end, just giving us a solid ending, I was just kind of like, okay, I see where this is going. So anyways, the end of the game comes for this one, and just like, I mean, this one, it has a cliffhanger ending. A cliffhanger ending. And then not to mention you have to buy DLC for it, which is stupid on Square Enix part. But let me tell you, I did enjoy the ending for this one. I did like how this game ended. This game had a fantastic ending. I thought it was really dark, and I was hoping for a really fantastic Final Fantasy XIII game to follow up on this one. I thought something big could happen with Caius and like other people. It's just, I really thought that, hey, this might be a solid trilogy if the next one doesn't suck. Then this one happened. Now, I don't hate Final Fantasy Lightning Returns. Actually, I do like it. There's a lot of things I did like it. My problem with this game is that I had a problem with the music, and I had a problem with the ending. Those are, I think, that's my two major factors that I had a problem with this game. Not to mention, well, the day system, or that 13-day system or whatever that happened in this one, it didn't bother me as much as it did other people. To me, I saw it as kind of like Majora's Mask. Did I feel like this was the game to do it for? Not really, but I guess it kind of makes sense considering where the story went. And in this game, I'm not going to really give out too much spoilers, but I'm going to just say that Lightning is basically the coming Messiah, and she ends up having to save people. Legit, that's the gist of it. So anyways, she has 13 days to do it, and yeah, so she's working with Hope and everything, and there's a lot of stuff that happened in this game that just kind of took me back. I was like, whoa, chill. For one, the music. I did not like the music choice. There's some tracks I did enjoy in this game, but the music overall, I just thought that 13.2 set up such a dark tone for the third game. The music, there was a lot of horns and stuff, but it wasn't that kind of like sinister horns. It was just kind of like, yeah, let's triumph horns, and I was just kind of like, I didn't like it. I did not like it. There were some tracks I did enjoy of it. There's a lot of worlds I did like exploring. It had a pretty big open world. This is probably the most open world of the 13 games, or the 13 trilogy. And I did enjoy it. The customization was a lot better, but except you were in a party of one. It was just Lightning. And they did introduce a lot of combat mechanics. They experimented a lot with this game. And I did enjoy it. The combat system, I didn't mind. Later on in the game, you find your own combos. It gets more complex. I did enjoy it. The part that messed me up was the ending. Now, if you guys haven't beaten this game or have no plans on beating this game, then fine, stay for the ending because I'm going to tell you guys about it. But if you do plan on playing the game, or at some point in time, or the trilogy in like just in order because you've never played it, then don't listen. Go play it and be disappointed by yourself, because I really wanted you guys to kind of experience the pain I felt. Because at the end of this game, you fight God basically, and this God created Earth or whatever. And once you kill him, Lightning and the party they go and they live the rest of their lives on Earth. And then there's a cutscene if you beat it like on the hardest difficulty or whatever, that Lightning is going to work. Yeah, 13. That I really do think that it was a solid entry into the Final Fantasy series, but it ultimately fell flat, and I don't think that it's not the best place for starters. There's a lot of tutorials, but the story and the characters were definitely really enjoyable. I love the soundtrack. It's one of my favorite soundtracks in the Final Fantasy series. And I really did enjoy the game. I enjoyed it for what it was. For people who couldn't get into it, I understand. I understand why you couldn't get into 13. I understand if you gave it a chance and you just did not like it. If you did not like Vanilla as a character, or like other characters because they were annoying, I understand. But for someone who who played the game, I really did enjoy the game. Honestly, I did not think it was a bad game. 13.2 came around, and it's one of those games that I just thought like, hey, there wasn't really needed, but it popped up. Let me tell you that the game, it explored some of the lore, I guess, but time travel was introduced, and I don't think that was the best way to go. But I did enjoy, how there were some storylines that did come out in this one. You got to learn a little bit more about Saz, and some other characters. But it ultimately, to me, I don't think it was necessary, especially how 13 ended. But they continued it anyways. And by the time the game came to an end, I actually thought, you know what, the ending wasn't that bad. As a game, if it was going for a trilogy, I thought the third one was going to be really amazing. It's one of those things where I kind of saw it as you know what, this game could possibly be it could be the Two Towers of the Final Fantasy games. Something that just explored the lower characters a little bit, and you could tell that there's going to be an awesome battle by the end of the third game. Then Lightning Returns came out, Lightning Returns was one of those games, like I said, it was, there's a lot of things I liked about it. I did like the combat system. Was it a terrible game? No. I really wanted to explore the world. I did enjoy it. I did play through it multiple times. And I did like the customization options in this game. Why they didn't have this in the other ones, I don't know. The only thing I hated about this game, like if you really ask me like what did you hate about the 13 games, or like what'd you hate about Lightning Returns, I'll tell you straight up, I hated the ending of all, like, of everything. Like if the ending could have just been better, if there could have been a party of characters or something, it would have been a lot better. But the way the game ended, it is probably one of the worst endings I have ever had to deal with. And I just felt like I wasted my time with this game by the end. Was it a great game? Yeah. Would you guys, do I recommend you guys play through it? Yeah, you know, I guess I could recommend that you guys play through it, but I'm gonna just tell you guys, if you're in it for like story, or like you want a conclusion to the series, you're gonna get it, but it's just not the way you're gonna expect it. Like, it's just a terrible ending, in my opinion. I did not like it at all, because it was something that kind of just, think of like, you wrapped up a present, and you gave it to somebody, then you gave it back, and you put a bunch of new stuff in there, and then you gave them the present back again, and then you were just kind of like, oh wait, hold up, you took the present back, and you unwrapped it for them, and then you gave it to them. Like, why? He knows what's in the package. He saw, or he or she saw whatever's in there, and you just had to take it back. You reworked whatever was in there, you added some stuff, you give it back to them. But in the end, you're just kind of like, well, where's the third present? Or why didn't you wrap it? It sucks that you had to kind of get Final Fantasy 13. It was a solid wrap-up game. Then Square Enix kind of took it back, like, okay, you know what, never mind. We really want you guys to like these characters. We're going to mix everything up again. Here's more stuff, and they gave it to you. And you're just kind of like, okay. You take it back, and you're like, oh, this is cool. And then they take that thing back again. They're like, you know what, hold up, we're going to wrap it up again. Here you go. And it's just like, why'd you do that? Like, there was no point. There really wasn't. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully this thing comes out well the way I'm hoping it for, like, to come out. I didn't post a video yesterday. A lot of stuff happened. I've been having trouble with YouTube, so hopefully this thing works. I'm going to do a live stream right now for other Final Fantasy video. I'll have to do it that way for that one. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. That like button really helps, guys. If you could subscribe, you know, I really appreciate it. If you want to see more videos, let me know in the comments section, like, what did you guys think of 13? Did you like it, hate it? Me personally, I did like the 13 trilogy. There was a lot of things that I could see why people didn't like it, but for me, I did like it, but I just did not like the ending. That's one of my major problems with the 13 trilogy. But yeah, I understand if you guys don't like 13, but I'm just letting you guys know the reasons why I like 13. I could probably get into a more detailed video in the future with each game, which I probably will do when I review every Final Fantasy game out there. But you know what, hey, that's for a future video. But anyways, thank you guys again for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and leave a comment. That way I can read them, you know. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. And remember, when you guys are gaming, power up.